Hey everybody, welcome back to another Merly on Time, and welcome back to another Beyond the Watch. I'm super excited that my guest has made time for me today, and he just told me his family is waiting to have breakfast with him after he is done with this. So let's just jump right into it. This is Miguel from SoCal Watch Reviews. How are you doing, Miguel?
Hey, Chris, how are you? Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I've seen a lot of the collaborations you've done, and I was like, when is it going to be my time? I guess I'm at the bottom of Chris's list. I am not that important, but listen, I'm here and I am happy, okay?
Yeah, man. No,
Just
and
kidding
it
about
had,
that.
yeah, it had, you know, there's, and actually it's kind of funny because there's a couple people that have asked me, you know, hey, do you want another guest? And they've been on my hit list, but I'm only doing one a month, and or at least I'm
Yeah, that's rough.
trying to do one a month. But this is a show basically a little bit about watches. Obviously, we're going to talk our watches or our YouTube channels.
Sure.
And at least for the last half of the conversation, it's beyond the watch. Just wanted to ask you a few questions, get to know
Sure.
you a little bit more. So I want to jump
Sure.
in by
Absolutely.
finding out what are you rocking on your wrist today? What's on wrist today?
So I'm wearing what I wore yesterday. I was just kind of here on my desk. I am rocking the Rolex Explorer 114270. Recent
Ooh.
acquisition for me a few months. It's been pretty nice. Fits pretty nice. 36 millimeters on my 6 and 7/8 inch wrist. It's great. I know beyond the whole Rolex thing on the dial, it's just a great watch, right? A lot of people get hung up on the brand. But aside from the brand, the build quality and the movement and everything, I try to look at things like that, right? Because a lot of times you get hung up on the name on the dial, and potentially it could be a terrible watch, right? Or a mediocre watch at best, just because it says X on the dial. But this Rolex watch really is my first Rolex watch, and really kind of left me with a really good impression, right? So that's what I'm rocking today.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about you?
And you correct me if I'm wrong. That's the one that you sold like 30 watches or so to help get it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw that video.
for sure, man. So, I mean, let's do your wrist check, and I can get into that story because I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
deviate from your wrist check. Let's see what you're rocking,
So
man.
I am rocking the Zelos Aurora
Oh,
Field Watch, mother of pearl
the
dial. This was a huge
yeah, I was
blessing.
gonna say
So big shout out to my buddy Andre Karagi. He is a subscriber to my channel. He bought this watch, and
okay,
like a few months ago, well, when they released this one, and then he got
yeah,
himself his grill, which is an Omega Speedmaster. So
beautiful, yeah.
so he contacted me out of the blue and is like, "Hey, I know you really love this Zelos watch. I want to give it to you." So
Wow,
this was
that's
gifted to me.
crazy,
Yeah, it's crazy,
beautiful, man.
and it's a great watch. Well, Zelos, as you know, they make incredible
Oh
pieces.
yeah,
So
they sell out every single time, and
I know
the dial on
within
that I've
within
seen.
minutes, most of them
Yeah,
within minutes, and this one's no exception. The mother pearl dial on it, it looks like a stained glass window. It's really, really cool.
right.
Yeah,
No, absolutely. Do you know what movement they're rocking? The Miyota 9000, or what
it's a
movement
high
does that
beat
have?
Miyota, one of the 9000
Okay,
ones.
cool.
Yeah,
No, it's incredible what the micro brand watches have done, and Zelos, I mean, or Celos, or however you want to pronounce it. I mean, they are a micro brand, but in essence, man, because they sell so much and sell out, they're not just your typical micro brand, right? So
yeah,
I put them alongside almost like a Christopher Ward in the same kind of
yeah,
vein. They're not the same, but great watches. I've never actually had the opportunity to handle one in person just yet. I will. I'll get around to it, but yeah, nothing but great things, and it's cool. I mean, nothing wrong with your homage watches, which obviously we all have our own things about homage watches, but this
yeah,
is different. This is a unique piece, unique design, great construction from what I'm hearing,
yeah. It's
and it's
fantastic.
not a
Yeah.
cheap watch either. Almost $1,000, right, for that?
Well, this particular one was listed on Zelos for 549 USD. So,
Oh no way!
yeah,
Wow, that's a great value. That
yeah,
is a great value. But
yeah.
they're not selling for that, right? The resellers probably want a lot more, 700-800 bucks, something like that.
Probably. I haven't really, I haven't, because it's a, when I buy a watch from Canada in the United States, so that 549, you add about a minimum 25 to 30% just for the currency exchange, for currency difference, because the Canadian dollar isn't worth as much as the U.S. dollar. And then when it crosses the border, I have to pay 13% harmonized sales tax for the province of Ontario. So now we're up to about, so let's basically round up to 40% additional cost for me, plus shipping. So that watch would have cost me close to, between $800 and $900 easy, and that's just regular price with me paying currency differences. So it's, when I get up to that high of a price, first of all, I really got to want the watch, and this one I really, if I had the money, I might have considered purchasing it, but I am trying to save up for either a Christopher Ward. I don't know what I'm going to do as far as that, whether I'm going to get one of those first. I will be able to at the end of this month if I want one, or keep that money and hopefully I don't have a furnace breakdown or something and save it for the Tudor Black
something
Bay
important in life, not a watch thing. Yeah, man. The cool thing about Christopher Ward is you sign up to their email list, I believe, and you get coupons all the time. And if not, I know people at Christopher Ward. I could put you in touch with them. And that's full transparency. I bought my Christopher Ward. It was a C60 Trident 300 or whatever the new ones. It was a white dial one. I got a discount on it. Yeah, I got a discount on it because I know the people there, and they threw in some extra free straps because I made a deal with them. But here's the big but. That was kind of the process of me getting another big watch. So when I got it in, I had that watch for a week. I didn't even size it to my bracelet, and I ended up selling it. Not because it wasn't a good watch, but because I needed the money for something else. And I do miss it. I was like, that was a really good. Christopher Ward makes some amazing watches.
Yeah, so I actually have a good relationship with them. One of their Ideas Network representatives has been, this will be my, I think.
Alex?
Yeah, Alex, yeah. So I'm actually going to be getting the C60 Trident next week. And basically I asked for that one.
600? Which one?
I believe the C60 Trident 300, yeah. I think the 300.
That's the one I had.
Yeah.
42
mil.
30 something.
It's a 40. Okay. I think 42 mil. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not 100% sure until I get the watch. What one they're sending me. I don't know the color of the dial or nothing like that. But I asked him for it specifically because between I'm debating between that watch because I seen it on my buddy Watching James wrist on Instagram. Watching James, how's it going, man? And the C63 Sealander, white dial with orange accents. I love the Sealander case shape, and it's a sweet 39 mil, perfect sweet spot for me. So, but Alex sent me a message and said, whatever one you decide to get, let me know, and I'll give you I've got a discount waiting for me if I want one. So that's going to be cool.
Take advantage of it, man. Incredible watches, to be honest with you. Yeah, and once you get a chance, have you ever seen a Christopher Ward like in person, or those?
I've had this one. Will be my.
Okay.
I've had the moon glow,
the C1 moon glow,
the world glow. I've had the C60 Ocean Tide. I've had the Sealander, and now I'm gonna. So this will be my fifth watch.
So they've sent me to review. So you know it.
I love them, man.
Light catcher. The light catcher case that they came up with is so beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
And I love, one of the things I love about their brand is the display case back. I know it sounds silly, but I'm a sucker for seeing a good movement, and most of their watches are with the Sellita SW200. And the crazy thing is that a few of their watches are actually cost certified. And Mike France, the CEO of Christopher Ward, has openly even said, it doesn't cost much more money to get something certified by COSC. It's literally like $100 or $50 or something. It's nothing ridiculous. So he kind of put the big boys on the map and said, so all those big companies, Swiss companies, charging extra thousands of dollars for that, it's ridiculous. They're just basically...
Wow, that I didn't know.
You're trying to... Yeah, so cost certification doesn't cost that much more. That's why these guys, if you look at their catalog, they're able to do it for not a lot of more money, right? So you get a cost certified Christopher Ward's safe for a little over $1,000. That's incredible. It's like bragging rights right there, you know?
Yeah, the C60 Tide that I had was cost certified, and yeah, it was dialed in like 1 or 2 seconds.
Oh yeah,
like it was dialed in, and $1,500 Canadian, I think, for that one if I'm around there. Like
it's around there, and then with the discounts
price.
and stuff like that. You know, yeah. One that I think it's incredible, and I put out my name out there, and I'm like, I want to check it out, but they're like, we don't have any. Is a C1 Bel Canto, the new one they came out with. That kind of chiming one.
Yeah,
that one's nice. That one's nice. So
yeah, it looks pretty
definitely
good.
Check that one out.
So I wanted to congratulate you on a couple of things.
Thank you.
Yeah,
whatever it is,
and just. And get your take on it and whatnot. So first off, a couple of months ago, give or take, I just can't remember the exact timing. You know, I'm just scrolling through my YouTube as I always do, and 10 channels you must watch. I think it was Watchfinder, Watchfinder and Company or whatever, right? So I'm like, yeah, cool. What, you know, I'm kind of half expecting, you know, Jenny L,
all the big guys,
and they were all there. And then I'm watching it along, and it's like SoCal watch reviews, and I'm like, holy shit balls, Miguel!
I know him.
That's amazing. So congratulations on that. How did you find out about? Like, did they contact you and let you know they were doing that, or did you just kind of find out by getting tagged in their video, or?
No. So let me tell you what I've told people before in my podcast, right? So what I do for a living, in case anybody can't tell, and I've been very open about this, is sales, right? So I do sales for a company. So relationship building is extremely important, and having that relationship, not just the initial contact, but that perpetual relationship with my clients, if you will. So when I started this whole podcasting, not YouTube, but when they started the podcast, I took it upon myself to say, I'm going to treat this as a business. I'm not making money off of it, but I'm going to treat it as a business in the sense that I want to build really good relationships. So one of the good relationships that I built was with Andrew Morgan, and this is less than a year ago. Andrew Morgan is a Talking Hands, the guy that does the Watchfinder videos. Really cool guy. He came on the podcast. So after he came on the podcast, we just kind of kept in touch, right? And he didn't tell me I had no clue he was going to do that. All I know is that we had built a really good relationship, and back and forth messages, you know, every once in a while. How are you, man? We need to have you back on, or, you know, whatever. And that was really a surprise for me. So it was because I built my relationship with him, and he's a super nice, humble guy. And now he has a channel, and it's been blowing up. And I like what he's doing. He's a really intelligent individual, really tuned into the watch scene. So what happened is, I got the shout out, and immediately I started getting a bunch of new subs, and I was very blessed, very grateful. That one of the on that list was Balthasar, of course. So one of the reps from Teddy Balthasar reached out to me and said, "Hey, we want to do a video, like, what was your most worn watch or something?" That was cool. So they reached out to me, and because of that, because of Watchfinder, because of me being on that, and because of that, now I've been reached out a lot more by different companies because they saw me on the big channel. So granted, my channel didn't blow up. I'm like at 7,400 subscribers, which, in essence, you think about it, you're like, man, I got a shout out by this video that or this channel that has almost 1 million subscribers, and I'm only at this much. So it kind of messes with your head in a way, right? Because in the big scheme of things, it's like, dang, that's crazy. That's such a small percentage, but you can't let it get to your head. The fact that I was given the opportunity to be on that show or that shout out is huge.
That's
and I'm
fantastic.
For it,
so I was just like, wow, that's so, you know, I sent
that's
you.
That's cool, yeah.
I think I called you a glorious bastard or something like that on an Instagram message and said, congratulations or whatever, you know, like fantastic. Like,
yeah, that was cool.
Very, very cool. The next thing I want to congratulate you on, and I almost did this today just because I think it would have been funny. I almost wore my Pagani design Rolex Submariner Homage.
You should have.
Are you jealous, Miguel?
Sorry,
by the way, Miguel, you did,
Chris.
Yeah, you did glitch out a little bit earlier, so I apologize, everyone. I don't know if it's something on Miguel's end or my end. You froze there for a minute, but anyways, so you got yourself. I would guess is pretty much your Grail watch, right? You got a Rolex
Yeah,
Submariner, which
for
is
sure.
way to go. So what's this? How did that come about? And if you don't
So
mind, where did you purchase this one? And
yeah,
tell the story, man,
yeah,
because
for
that's
sure, man.
awesome. I thought you might wear it today, but so anyway,
I
I was
was,
gonna
but I
wear
was
my
wearing the
Pagani
Explorer
design. It
yesterday.
just really, yeah. But anyways, yeah. Tell me the story because that's fantastic.
Yeah, so and I'll tell you something. I'll tell you the story, and I'll tell you something else that just happened yesterday, and nobody even knows about it except for David Schwartz, Omar from Timeless Sneakers and Watches, and
Yep.
P. Ross from from Ross Wristwatch Love, because were like in a chat, and I let them know,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
like as a group, so they know, but nobody else knows. So I'll let you know. But
Woo! Exclusive,
um,
exclusive. Drum roll.
yeah, so an exclusive, and I don't even know. I'll pull out my phone so when I tell you, because I don't even know the reference number on what I'm going to tell you, but I do have my phone handy when I get ready to tell you what it is. But anyway, so long story short, let me go back to the Explorer, right? So I don't want people to get the wrong idea and be like, oh, great, this guy's like on the Rolex hype and Rolex and Rolex and Rolex. Rolex is a fantastic product, okay?
Yeah,
They're one of the best in the world when it comes to marketing. Now, are they the best
yeah.
watch in the world? No, we all know that. As watch people, we know that 100%. But I got to tell you, Chris, there's something about a Rolex watch when you put it on your wrist, when you hold it, when you look at it. It's just, I don't know if it's a whole marketing they've done through the years that it kind of messes with your perception of whether something is good or not. But there's something special about them. It just feels different. I don't know how to explain it. And I've
No,
had the opportunity to handle really expensive watches, more expensive than Rolex, and there's just something different about Rolex, right? So the story with the Explorer, and I'll get to the Submariner, is I was itching to get into something a little more expensive. So the very special thing that happened to me first was my Tudor Black Bay 58. That was I had saved up for it, sold a lot of watches that I got for free, right? And started just kind of saving my pennies from YouTube. And I didn't have enough for the Tudor Black Bay from my own personal bank, because as you know, we need to be responsible, right? I have enough money in my bank account to buy watches, but that's not the way life goes, because
yeah,
my wife is not okay with it. She goes, if you want to play with these things and buy a bunch of watches, you have to figure out how to make extra money on the side, which I did, flipping watches, right? Because I review watches, I get them for free, I get money from YouTube, sponsors every once in a while for like the podcast, they send money, right? Like Chrono 24 sponsored us, so I save all my money, right? So I didn't have enough money for the Tudor. Now I'm going back to the Tudor, but my wife surprised me when we found one, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! They have it. These are really hard to find." At that time, they were kind of hard to find. So she goes, "Well, your birthday is coming up. How much money do you have saved up?" I was like, "I have enough for half of it," and it was like $3,900 because it was new. It was at a Tourneau,
yeah.
and she goes, well, you work hard and your birthday's coming up. And I know you really been talking about Tudor and Tudor Bros. That's around the time the whole Tudor Bros came up. She's like, just get it. I was like, wait, what? You complain about watches all the time. You hate watches. Like she's like, I don't hate watches, but I don't like hearing the watch talk. I'm tired of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
talk about it all the time. I don't care about it. But if you want it, get it. I was like,
Nice.
are you sure? I was like, what is going on? She's like, yeah, just go for it. And then you could pay me back, right? You could pay the account back. I was like, I don't care. You're letting me borrow money. That's fine. So I had a little bit of money,
Yeah,
borrowed the rest from our credit card, bought it. It just completely changed like my perspective on watches and everything. And this shift like happened. I don't know how to explain it. And I was like, okay, let's sit down. How much money do I owe our account? She's like, well, how about this? I'll give you $1,000, like as your birthday, like just whatever the difference is, just pay me back. I was like, okay, done. So I did. I ended up paying it back, and that was cool. I was like, oh, cool. So then I started getting a taste for like more expensive things, unfortunately, and I was like, okay, cool. A little Seiko 5 doesn't do it for me anymore. It's a cool watch. I'll wear it. I'll rock it. But now I've experienced something a little more expensive, and I want what's the next high, right?
yeah.
What can I chase next? And I started saving a little bit of money again, as it happens. And then I started getting a bunch of watches again for review, and I didn't wear them, to be frank with you. Like
Yep.
I get them. I think they're cool. But in back of my mind, I was like, is this something I'm going to keep perpetually? Or is this something that I'm going to, not perpetually, I'm sorry. Is this something I'm going to keep long-term? Or is this something I'm going to potentially flip? And since I knew I was going to flip it, I purposely didn't wear it. I didn't want to scratch it. So I kid you not, it got to a point where I had like 15, 16 micro brand watches from all kinds of watches just sitting in their box in my closet. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what the heck is going on? So Whatnot, the app Whatnot was just popping. It was just came on the scene. And Chris from Watch Chris, shout out to my boy Chris. He's like, hey man, you need to get on that app because I'm sure you could sell a lot of your stuff and make some good money. I was like, really? You think so? He's like, yeah. Let me hook you up. Let me open an account for you. He's like, but in order to get traction, I think you need to do something really special. You need to do a giveaway. I was like, oh man, okay, what am I? All right, let me think about that one. He's like, no, seriously, if you wanna generate a big crowd and people actually see what you have for sale, you need to give something away really special. And on top of that, if you already have watches that you have for sale, even look through your collection, look at straps, look at anything watch related you could sell. I was like, okay, cool. So I started doing some digging and I came up with a bunch of things. Watches I had already owned, watches I hadn't even worn. And then I said, you know what? I think this is going to yield a good dividend, right? By me doing this, a good result. So what I did, I put my Seiko SKX 007 up for a giveaway. It was my very first mechanical watch. I still don't regret it. I just didn't wear that watch. I loved it for a long time, but I just didn't wear it. So that drew a big crowd. I kid you not, on the stream.
Oh yeah,
it was big. It was 200
because they're ridiculously expensive to buy now.
Yeah. So
for what it is, yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, for what it was like 195 bucks, 180 bucks. That's what you could buy them for before, but now they're really expensive. But anyway, I did the giveaway. It drew a pretty big crowd, right? Like 200 something people on the stream. I don't know, but Chris is like, man, you got some really good numbers. So this is what happened, Chris. That single stream, I had no expectations. I had no idea what I was walking into, what I was getting myself into. That night alone, with everything I sold, I made like $4,500 in one night, in like an hour. I was like mind blown. I was like, what just happened? Like I finished the stream. I was like so confused. I was like, was that real? Did I really just sell like 30 products? Like it was everything from watches, straps, watch rolls, everything you could think of I had because I had just been saving it. I didn't know how to sell it. They were just sitting here, right?
Yeah.
So then I did another sell like the week after that, and I just really dug deep into all other stuff, and I made another like $1,200. And then now Whatnot is not what it used to be because there's a lot of people selling watches for like cheap now, so it kind of is not the same. You can still sell on there, and I once in a while I go on there and try to sell stuff, but that gave me enough money to buy the Rolex Explorer 1. And it was a blessing because I was like, that's crazy. I sold all of that I didn't really wear, and now I really do wear this, and this is an investment as well, right? People don't like to talk about investments, and I know we shouldn't be talking about watches as investments, right? But it's the truth. It's like when you get into the higher end stuff, you want to know your money's secure, right? You want to know that your money's not gonna just go away, right? So I really like the design of Rolex. I always wanted one. The Submariner is my all-time dream watch, but the cheapest you could find them is like $9,000. It's crazy. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to afford that. That's insane, right? I can't make that happen. But anyway, got the Explorer, fell in love. I was like, wow, okay, this is what it's all about. This is Rolex. It's cool, right? And I didn't do it to get kudos from people. I didn't do it to show it off. I did it as a personal achievement, right? It's like, this is cool. I love it. I'm happy, right? So fast forward a few months, right? And it's crazy how all this is happening. Fast forward maybe 2 months after I got this. And again, I started getting a bunch of watches for free because I review them, I photograph things, I do work for client, also maybe you don't know, but I on Instagram, there's companies that reach out to me and say, hey, can you do a reel? Can you do some photos for us? And it's not me reviewing it. It's just me. They're my client and they pay me money. I don't get to keep the watch. Sometimes they just pay me cash, right? Or wire me money. And sometimes I do get to keep the watch in return for my services. It's not, again, not me reviewing the watch. It's just taking pictures, making reels for them. So money started adding up, right? And shout out to my boy M as in Mary or Max, MVVV, like V watches, MVV watches. Go check him out. The guy's name is Max. He's in California. He's the one that sold me this watch. He deals mostly in pre-owned Rolexes and really legitimate guy. He gets like the crispiest, like samples. And he had a Rolex Submariner on there. And I was like, man, I have a little bit of money. I wonder if I could get it. And I'll just like sell off like my Grand Seiko, my Omega, any other things that I could sell off. I'll do it for the Submariner. So I had a little bit of the money, not all of it. As you know, they're really expensive. And in that kind of process of me looking at it, I got a new job, right? I left my old job that I had been there for 7 years, but still doing sales and obviously trying to climb up the ladder. It's been very challenging, but I'm trying to make it. But anyway, within that process of me negotiating with this guy, he gave me a really good deal. I won't publicly say it. I'll tell you afterwards, but I got a really good deal. And it's naked, right? It's not polished. Naked meaning no box, no papers for anybody that doesn't know what that means. It's just a watch, just like this one. It was naked as well. But the difference with the sub was that it was serviced by Rolex in 2022. So I have the service card from Rolex with the little pouch. So I knew, I'm like, look, this is a 1999, but it's serviced by them. So I know it's like, it's good to go, right? Now, quick story about the Rolex. So this year in 2023 in August, it's going to be my 40th birthday. So I'm going to turn 40 and my wife and I are going to be married 10 years. So that's two big things within that month, right? So I had reached out to an AD that I kind of I met through my friend Omar and kind of build a relationship with them, and he sells Rolex, right? So I reached out to him in 2022 and said, hey, I spoke to my wife and I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, but can I potentially buy a Rolex Submariner date to celebrate those milestones? So after, some talking or whatever, he's like, I'll make that happen for you, right? So I was on the wait list for that, but, doing my research and everything, I'm like, you know what? There's something about the new Rolexes that just don't sit well with me. They're too chunky. There's something about the ceramic bezel is too shiny. I mean, it's a beautiful watch. Don't get me wrong, but out the door, it was going to be like $11,000. That's a lot of money for a Submariner, right? And when I kept looking back at, the pre-ceramic Submariner, the case was slimmer before the maxi case, before the maxi dial, before the ceramic. It just looked like a tool watch. And it's slimmer in profile. It's just like more of a beautiful silhouette for me, for my smaller wrist. And then when I saw the price, I was like, well, if I get a pre-ceramic and I really, really like it, I'm still able to save thousands of dollars. It just doesn't make sense getting the new one. So I basically gave up the new Submariner for a vintage one. Again, it just speaks to me a little more as a tool watch. So the way that it happened, I made the deal with the guy, but I didn't have all the funds. And then my wife just same thing. It's like, hey, well, there's money there. You want to make it happen. You just got a new job or whatever. So so that's the way that it happened. Obviously, I already had some money saved up. But yeah, that's the way that happened. And when I got it, Chris, like I'm telling you, it's like, I don't know how to explain this feeling. I've been wanting that watch since I was younger, before watch collecting. I just knew I liked the Submariner for whatever reason. So when I got it, I was a little nervous because I was like, am I going to be disappointed? I mean, I've been waiting years for this thing, right? And I know it's a lot of people go, really, a Submariner is your grail, but it's like, it is. I can't tell my heart what to like or not like, right? But that's the one for me. And I can't tell you how happy I've been. I obviously there's more important things in life, relationship with your family, spiritual health, and different things. But this, from a perspective of a material object, it just fulfilled me so much, right? And then something funny happened. So I've been wearing it and just loving it and babying it and taking pictures of it and all that stuff. And there was two watches in my collection that I just kind of neglected and never really wore, and they were just sitting there. It was the Omega Speedmaster, the Reverse Panda,
Yep.
the reference number 3511.50, and my Grand Seiko, the SBGM 221, the GMT one.
Yeah.
Beautiful watches,
Beautiful watches.
but
Yeah.
they were just sitting there. They're just sitting there, and it's like, what am I doing? It's like the money's just sitting there. What do I do? So I sold them. I sold both of them and got the money. And as of last night, I pulled the trigger on something else because I'm like, well, I've always wanted this, and the money was just sitting there. I just kind of flipped those to make some more money, but I don't know if you can tell. Let me see if I could show you. I don't know if it's going to come out on camera, but I just picked up a 1993 Rolex Datejust silver dial. This is the reference number 16234. And again, the money was just sitting there in the Grand Seiko and the Omega, so I just used those funds to kind of buy this and still have money left over.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, so crazy that I'm not having a Rolex and now I'm gonna have three, but it's not about. I hate weird. I feel weird saying it publicly because I don't want people to get the wrong perception of like, oh, whatever. It's not about that. It's just about my personal journey with watches, and I'm able to flip things and move things and sell things, and it's just what I do. You know, it's a passion, and I get very excited when it comes to like deals and selling and negotiating, because that's what I do in my real life, sales. And I like doing that, you know? So the idea of like flipping and making money or making people happy or making deals or, you know, to get the money for the Submariner, just to let you know, again, I had a bunch of micro brown watches, and a buddy of mine at dinner working sleep, he's a buddy of mine. He saw that I had some watches and we made a deal. He traded me his Tudor Black Bay 58 blue and the Tissot PRX green. Plus, and I gave him some micro brown watches plus a little bit of cash. As soon as I got the Tudor, I cleaned it up a little bit, took pictures, video of it, and I flipped it to somebody else for more money. So that's how I was able to make some of the money for the Submariner, right? So just to let you know, it's just deals on the back end that you gotta do if you want something. I'm not rich by any means or stretch of the imagination. It's just being creative on how you do things, and YouTube has allowed me the opportunity to get free watches and be able to flip them, you know? So
yeah, that's awesome. It's just totally awesome. And I can tell you just from my own experience, I haven't handled a Rolex or anything like that yet, but I was in
that's the keyword.
I was in a jewelry store. I had to get a bracelet that I got resized for me because it had the double screws, and for the life of me, I have two screwdrivers. I just couldn't do it.
Just couldn't.
I was just, it was a pain in the butt, and I didn't want to scratch the bracelet, so I thought I'll pay my local jeweler $15 and get them to size it for me. So I'm in there, and there was a fairly young guy who had I don't know what year or whatever, but it was a fairly new, the shinier one. He had a Rolex Submariner on, and I was able to see it like within a couple feet away, and it friggin' blew me out of the water. It really did. Just how beautiful it actually is. I was like, oh my gosh. So I asked him, I said, man, can I see that? And so he just kind of put it up, and I was like, can I? And he's like, no, I'm not giving you the watch. Like, I wanted to hold it.
Wow.
But he's like, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, no, what's interesting about that, and I was kind of like, I wasn't upset. I'm like, I totally understand, because that watch there would have been in like an $18,000 retail. Like, it was a brand new one that he got for his graduation. I'm like, can your parents adopt me?
Oh, wow. That's nice.
In Canada,
that's a nice graduation gift.
Yeah, in Canada, the retail price of a Rolex Submariner, I believe, is like between 18,000 and 19,000 Canadian dollars.
That's a lot of money. Yeah. That's definitely a lot of money.
So, but they are absolutely gobsmackingly beautiful watches. There's no question about it. Like pictures, like sometimes when you see a picture of a watch online, it looks okay, looks good, look whatever. Sometimes they look great, and then you get it, and you're like, "Oh, this the picture oversold it or whatever." And then sometimes, you know what I mean. And sometimes you get a watch where it's like, it doesn't look that. It looks okay, or it looks pretty good on the picture, but they're like, oh my gosh, this looks beautiful, way more beautiful in person than the pictures don't do it justice. And for sure, the Rolex Submariner is totally like that. The black like the black dial, black ceramic bezel. Like it's,
Yeah, man.
I was blown
You
out
know
of my
what?
mind.
You know what it is about Rolex that upsets a lot of people, including myself, is the whole everything that goes on behind the scenes with well, not behind the scenes,
Yeah.
I guess, in front of the scenes with you can't get them and people are flipping them, and that pisses me off too. I don't agree with that, and almost like you want to point the finger at Rolex and be like, you see this happening, right? Why don't you increase your production, or why don't you do something? But for them is great marketing because people want what you can't get, right?
Yeah.
So from a perspective of looking at it as like, man, it's like impossible to get and people are flipping them, it is disgusting. I don't like that side of it. Also, I don't like the side of the whole idea that everybody and their mom knows what a Rolex is, and you could almost come across as like, oh, you just have the watch that everybody gets when they want a nice watch. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm a collector, so to me it goes a lot deeper than that, and I don't view things like that. Another thing that I don't like is that I live in Los Angeles, right? Well, not at LA County, but I live in California, so unfortunately I can't wear these Rolexes anywhere, so I have to be very mindful as to what I wear, and that
It's
is
really
very
that
unfortunate.
bad. Like it's really that bad. Like the
Well, it
robbery and the
depends.
muggings or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would never go to Hollywood or downtown LA wearing a Rolex. I'll be kind of foolish, and if I did, I'll be kind of hiding it, and what defeats the purpose of wearing a watch. You know what I mean? Just because I've heard some stories, and you just got to be mindful, man. I mean, it's that's the thing about Rolex, that it's very recognizable. At least this Explorer, not so much. I could be wearing this, and most people don't even know what it is, right? It probably looks like just like a relatively affordable watch because it's not super shiny. But the Submariner, unfortunately, because of the silhouette, and everybody knows the Submariner, or the Datejust, everybody knows what those look like. So, I need to be a little more mindful as to what I wear. But luckily for me, I got great alternatives, right? Like this one that I just reviewed, my Tissot PRX. This is an incredible watch, the Powermatic 80.
Yeah.
I love this watch. I love this watch. And that's the beauty about when you get deep into the hobby, that I could take this Rolex off and put that on and still feel special, because I appreciate both in different levels. You know what I mean? So it's not like, I don't want people to think like, oh, Miguel is a Rolex is now he's a snob. And I don't, no, it's not about that. And I don't care. Right. I like all kinds of watches and respect all kind of watches. So yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I wanted to talk to, so we've been talking now for about 37 minutes. So I want to get a little bit beyond the watch with you. And I do want to ask you about because one of the things that I really, really love about, your presence online is your photography is absolutely amazing. Like,
oh, thanks, man.
You may not
appreciate it. That means a lot.
Yeah, you may not know. Back in the day before I got called to ministry, I was actually already enrolled in a photography and media arts program. I used to be really big into photography myself back when I was late teens, early 20s. And I wish I had just kind of kept it up. I used to go outside. I loved taking nature shots. I just used to love just going with my camera and just trying to take photos and whatnot. And I had a big portfolio of photos that I had taken, and I just stopped. I don't know why. I just stopped doing it.
Oh, man, come on.
Honestly, I did. But the fact that you, as you mentioned, like there are companies that hire you now to do your photographs, and how long have you been into photography?
Yeah, man. So let me kind of tell you the quick story. So let me get something really quick right here. Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll show you. I'll tell you. So first and foremost, before I got into watches and before I got into anything, I'm an artist. I've been drawing graffiti more specifically since I was in high school. Okay. So here's one of the things that I did, and I have yet to give this away, but I don't know if it comes out on camera. No, it doesn't.
Back it up a little bit. Because your green screen, it's green. Man. Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
I can see it. Hold it right there, right there. That looks cool.
You can kind of see it.
Yeah, I'll let you know when you can see it. Right there. Wow, that is really cool.
In front of it.
Yeah, man, that is
so
cool.
Yeah, no, I've been I've been doing graffiti for years now, and mostly legal. Obviously, I'm not gonna publicly say anything else. But anyway, yeah, I've been doing graffiti for a long time, like years and years. I'm almost 40. I started when I was 15, so I don't actively do it so much now. But I'll tell you what happened. So that itch of that artistic itch was always inside of me, obviously, and that kind of kept it dormant for a little bit. And I started the YouTube channel. When I started my YouTube channel, I knew nothing about nothing, right? All I did was now you could go back to my early videos. I was recording everything from a phone with a light that I had in the room, like not even like like a standalone light. It was literally the light when you turn on like
just your
the light for the room.
Yeah.
And quality was terrible. I didn't have a microphone or nothing. And slowly started kind of finding out that you need to kind of up your quality a little bit, right? So it wasn't until I want to say 2.5 years ago that a buddy of mine, Steve, sold me his Sony A6300. Here it is. And he gave it to me at a reasonable price. And he is a professional videographer. He's done work for Microsoft, for Google. So he gave me a few pointers, right? Like, oh, maybe do this, do that. But he lives far away from me. So he doesn't do product photography or videography. So that's a completely different monster. What he does is different, right? But he did give me a few pointers. And he's like, Miguel, you need to get yourself some lights. Like, you can't just have the camera. You need to buy some lights and this and that. So slowly I started kind of picking his brain and then going on YouTube and all that. So it wasn't until a year and a half of having a YouTube channel, or a year and a few months, that I got that camera. And then the quality started changing. Then I started finding out about lenses. Well, wait a minute, macro lens? What is a macro lens, right? What is this? What is that? So I've been photographing or taking photographs for about maybe 2 years now. And it took a while to kind of figure it out, because I knew something early on. My buddy goes, if you're going to do anything in this photography game, make sure you don't have it in automatic, because then the camera's doing the work for you. And in the graffiti world, we don't use stencils. Everything's from our hand. Like we freehand everything, right? So he gave me the parallel. He's like, if you shoot in manual mode, it's almost like you have control over the pencil, the spray can, the whatever, like you're in control. Same thing with the camera. You control all the settings. But if you do it in automatic, it's almost like going up to a wall or somewhere with a stencil and just painting it over it. And then basically the stencil did the work for you. There's some kind of sense of pride when you do something in manual mode. I was like, okay, so that got ingrained in me. So ever since day one, even though I'd suck really bad in the beginning, I was shooting in manual mode and figuring out what the ISO was and the frames and this and that. So yeah, I just kind of started playing around. And then big shout out to Mr. Ace K Productions, my boy Dale. He is in Australia. He's done work for Seiko Australia. He's done work for a lot of different people that he probably can't even talk about, but he is a professional photographer and he's a commercial pilot. So very interesting guy. But during the pandemic, he started giving me pointers. He's like, hey man, I see that you're framing things good, but your lighting's not great, or what is your f-stop, set at, and this was all kind of foreign to me. So I was like, hey, kind of walk me through it. Like, what are you talking about? So basically now what happened is something very interesting. I write graffiti rarely, once in a while, but now my photography has taken over that artistic side of me.
That's cool.
So now when I put lights or when I put props or when I do this, it's just all creative stuff, right? It's like, I'm trying to be creative, and it's just a matter, honestly, people say this all the time, and I'll tell you, it really is about the lighting. You need to be able to play with the lighting very good and have a lot of reflective surfaces. Another guy that helped me out a lot, and I'll shout him out publicly, is Brandon Menancio. He now works for Hodinky. I met this guy when he first started his YouTube channel. And now obviously he works for Hodinky, which is cool, awesome. But he is really a good videographer when it comes to like editing stuff and all the lighting diffusions and stuff like that. So he helped me out a lot too. So I can't take credit for me doing everything, but it's just people giving you pointers like, hey, do this, do that.
You get,
maybe,
you get passionate about something, and then you get other people around you that know it. One of the things I've always found interesting, the whole digital age, and like how you said, if you have everything on automatic, because I'm old enough to, having had used film when I took photographs,
That's very
And
cool. Yeah.
I almost got into the whole darkroom thing where you would,
Mm,
there was a whole art behind not only just the photograph, but developing your own photograph
the
as well.
process and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which now it's all kind of computerized. You can use Adobe or whatever, like to fidget
100%.
with things. So the digital aspect has, in some way, um, in my opinion, um, what's the word to use? It's taken some of that creative process out. There's still a lot of creativity in what you're doing, but like to go into a dark room and to develop your own pictures, and then
Right.
and the learning curve is a lot longer because when you're adjusting
Sure.
your f-stop or your ISO on a film, you got to wait till it's developed before how
To see how
did
it came out.
how
Oh
did that
crap!
thing
It's
come out?
overexposed.
and
Yeah.
and you gotta have a notepad, be like, frame one is, this is the setting, like, it was a
Old
lot more
school.
work.
Old
So
school.
I mean, it's pretty old school. um but anyway, yeah, I just think, I wanted to hear your journey in that, because honest to goodness, I love your, I just love your work. It's just incredible. And the
Thanks,
fact,
man.
you're getting hired to do it now, that's awesome and well deserved, man. Like, so cool.
Yeah, and one of the things is that a lot of these photographers out there, unfortunately, not name any names, a lot of them keep their secrets, right? It's how'd you get that angle, or how'd you get this so crispy, and they just don't want to tell you because
Yeah.
they see you as a threat. Like, oh, well, if I tell you, then you're gonna do it and potentially steal my client. Which I get it, but I'm always an open book because I'm not a professional. I don't know about cameras that much. Like, if you were to ask me about the different models and the different settings, I honestly couldn't really tell you. I just know the basic stuff. All I know is that I know how to control my lighting and a little bit of the editing and some of the
Yeah.
basic stuff, right? But if you were to come to me and DM me and be like, hey, I'm getting into photography, what do you recommend? Or can I show you my setup, or what am I doing wrong, or how can I improve this? I'll give you some pointers because I'm not a professional. I mean, I guess I'm getting paid for it, but that doesn't really constitute me as a professional, I guess,
Yeah.
like a real professional.
Well, you're
But I am getting
definitely
paid.
getting
So
beyond amateur status when it comes to that, just for,
a little bit, yeah, yeah.
for sure you
I
are.
guess, yeah, but to be honest with you, it's like I've tried to photograph other like products, and it's different. Like, there's something about photographing watches. It's so nice. It's so difficult though because of every watch is different. The
Yeah.
reflections, and
Yes. Yeah.
you need to make sure the hands are at the 10 and 2, and then the second hand has to be at the 40-second mark. And yes, I sit there with my camera waiting for the little second thing. A lot of people actually do it in Photoshop, like the real professional guys. They'll
The
they'll
Photoshop it.
take out the crown. They'll stop the watch. I don't know if you knew this,
Yeah.
but they'll stop the watch at the 10 and 2 and the 40-second mark. That way they could take a bunch of photographs, and then in Photoshop they'll photograph the crown back
Back
into the
in.
watch, or
Oh,
like they'll do
see, and I've done that.
yeah.
I didn't necessarily know about putting it at the 40-second mark, but I've pulled the crown out, for some of my, shots, just to keep the hands where they are. Yeah. That's cool, man. And I'm, back in the day, I was really, I appreciate good photography, and you're good. I mean, you were
I
really
appreciate
good.
that, man. Thank you so much.
So
And
here's a question
I'm
for you.
striving to be better. So.
Yeah, man. Of course. So here's something. Sometimes I base my, next thought or question on an observation of you personally, and,
Sure.
so I'm just going to read what I wrote. So to me, you seem like a very ambitious person, very driven, driven to succeed, wanting to succeed, and yet at the same time, somewhat humble and unassuming. And I've heard that already from you. It's like, oh, no, I'm not a professional. I just, so I'm assuming that that's an accurate description. And what made you that way?
So that I would agree with you. That is an accurate description. I am extremely ambitious when it comes to trying to make more money and trying to succeed and trying to be better at whatever it is that I do. But when people point out that, like, man, you're really good, or like that whole thing with like Watchfinder, you made it on there. Like, I didn't make a big deal about it. Like, I didn't. It was cool, but it's just like I just feel like I'm not there, right? And it's always, I think that that idea of I haven't made it yet. I'm not that big. I'm always, it doesn't matter how big I am, there's always room to grow. That kind of keeps me humble because it doesn't allow me to get a big head. It doesn't allow me to think that I'm better than anybody else, or have better things, right? If you drive something nice or own a Rolex or something, it just like, I'm humble because I personally hate people that are not humble. I personally hate people that are flexing and doing all that. I just don't. I think there's always somebody better, right? You could be flexing with your richer meal and this and that, and then I look at somebody like, I don't know, Jeff Bezos, right? And it's like he's a multi-billionaire, and I don't see him rocking a richer meal, or even the CEO of Microsoft. I forget his name, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates,
like he's rocking a Duro, right?
Yeah.
To him, it's like money is just a thing, and he uses money to help other people or do different things, right? So if you look at people that are really, really, really rich, they look at life a little different, right? So also one thing that kind of helps me, I guess, kind of remain humble and stay hungry at the same time is the fact that we grew up with not a lot of money in Mexico. So I've told this story before. I mean, there have been days where my mom didn't have money for milk or bread, and she'll send me to the neighbor's house to go get money to go buy bread and milk. And that always kind of stayed with me. And I always made myself a promise to always have a little bit of money in my wallet. Right. And I've stayed true to that till I'm almost 40, and it's always been true. It's about just the sense of that nervousness of how are you going to pay the rent this month? How are you going to pay the electric bill? How are you going to eat? Right. Living in fear month after month after month. It's not a good thing. Seeing your mom cry because she has a lot of bills and can't figure out how to pay stuff. It really messes with you when you're young. Right. But it can mess with you in a very positive way. And for me, it did, because it gave me that ambition to say, okay, you know what I mean? And
absolutely. Yeah.
I went to college. I did 1 year of college, but I didn't finish it. So everything I've been doing with my career is without a college degree. I just a high school degree. And to be honest with you, self-taught, self-motivated. And one of the careers that I knew that I could probably excel at was sales, because I've always liked to sell things here and there. Never at a professional level. It wasn't until my sister said, Miguel, you're pretty good at selling things. Like, maybe you should try to make a career out of it. And I was like, how do I do this? So I got this small job, not making a lot of money, and just kind of learned the ropes, right? About what it is to build relationship with clients and negotiating and percentages and follow-ups and stuff like that. And it just kind of built my career. I've been doing sales now for over 15 years. So now I'm to a point where I'm not where I want to be, but I could walk into a room, and that's what I do now, right? I could do a presentation in front of 40 people and not be nervous at all, and just answer questions, make people laugh, present the product, present the services, whatever it may be, and be comfortable in my own skin. And that in turn makes me feel like I succeeded in a way. You know, it's not all about money. It's about personal growth and personal goals that you set yourself. So yeah, man,
Cool.
Humility is huge in my book. So
yeah, and you finish every.
Oh, that's why I always say
you finish every video. Whenever I end my videos, humble. Yeah.
Stay humble, because I mean it. I don't care if you're rocking an FP Jordan. You got to remain humble. The minute that you're not humble, people are not going to care what you're rocking on your wrist. But people care more about your character than your wealth or what you have on your wrist, you know?
Yeah. There was an expression that one of my mentors that actually was really facilitated in a way my journey into going into ministry. He said to me, and shout out to my pal Tim Crooks, not like he's going to be watching this. He's not into watches. Or
hey, you never know.
But he said to me, Chris, you have to always remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
that's very true.
You know, and it's it's just, that's true in a lot of things in life. Like, if you're not genuine with people, and you know, if people get a sense that you're just wanting the relationship, or you're wanting something from them rather than contributing to them.
Yeah, it's just take. Yeah, no, I get it.
And it's just like, you know, you can have a lot of information, expertise, or whatever, but if you don't care about people, they don't care about what you know. It's true, I believe. So Yeah,
I agree, man. I
humility
agree.
is
Unfortunately,
humility is
on
huge.
YouTube, we find that a lot. You know, I've been on this YouTube game for over 3 years, and I've run into some characters that they just want to pick your brain, right? They just, how do you do this? How do you do that? Hey, help me do this. As a matter of fact, there's podcasts out there. Again, I don't like throwing people under the bus, so I won't say the name, but this guy came as a guest on our podcast. This is about a year and a half ago. Yeah, something like that. And he came on our podcast. And you know, he had an online presence on Instagram, but that's about it. And after the podcast, he's like, I love what being on a podcast, so I want to start my own podcast. I'm like, sure, go for it. Awesome. What do you recommend I buy? What do you use? What program do you use? What microphone do you use? How do you do it? I basically told him the blueprint of what I knew, right? Next thing you know, he's starting his own podcast. And to this day, he has yet to give us any kind of shout out or any invitation or anything. And pretty much we cut ties with that person. But it's just like, that's not cool. You don't take and then not at least give like a shout out. Like, that's not how this works, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's been for the most part, my experience on doing YouTube has been awesome. There's definitely it's definitely been plenty of drama too that I've separated myself from.
Watch drama.
Well, it's just people are watches aside. There's just personalities. People are people. There's very few people that I don't get along with, and the relationships that maybe have not dissolved because of me, because like they decided to dissolve the relationship because of whatever.
Sure.
It has never been. I try and be a person that if I contribute to something that is harmful or hurtful or whatever, and I know about it, I'll own up to it. And like I literally get along with absolutely anybody and everybody. Do I get close to absolutely every? No, of course not. Like, do I?
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to ask you this. This is you can freeze time at any point and relive any moment, kind of like Groundhog Day, right? All right. Any moment of your life,
okay,
you can freeze it and you can relive that day over and over and over again, or that moment. First thing that comes to mind, what is it?
Man, can I change history, or is it just reliving the moment?
Your life, your lifetime. Yeah.
My life.
You can, in your life, you can, I'm not talking about all of world history. I'm talking about Miguel. You're almost 40, right? One day that you could live over and over again, or a moment you could live over and over again. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
For sure. I think the first thing that comes to mind is my wife and my son. We went to Catalina Island probably about, not this time, so about a year ago, the very first time we took my son, and he was just so enamored by the golf cart of all things, right? He thought it was the coolest thing, and seeing the ocean and just seeing that emotion through his eyes of something that my mom couldn't give me when I was young, right? Like a nice vacation. It was so cool, like seeing that. And he's young, he's 7, so I can't really tell him like, hey, don't take this for granted. Like, not everybody has this. Like, once he gets a little bit older, I need to have a conversation with them, because I don't want him to think that it's normal for everybody in the world to be doing some of the things that we do, or owning some of the things that we own. I want him to know that it was earned, not given. And anything that he gets from me, like say, for instance, this watch I'm wearing, I already told him I'm going to give it to him when he's older. Like, it's not something that just happens. Like, my dad never gave me a Rolex, or most people don't do that, but because I'm in that position, I want him to know how special it is. So anyway, I always go deeper than what you asked, but that would be the moment for me, just the vacation. So
seeing the I guess just kind of
the happiness
and joy in his life. For me, for me, it's probably the first thing I'm thinking of is when my first child, like when my daughter was born. And, there's something about that moment, but it was extra special for my wife and I, because at about, say 6 months into her pregnancy, maybe 7 months into her pregnancy, they were doing a follow-up ultrasound, and they found this what they thought was some sort of an anomaly with her like her brain, her skull, her development. And you know, they were like, you know, we got to keep an eye on this. It's kind of like, well, they just scared the living hell out of us, right?
Yeah, scary.
And so when my wife went into labor, I gotta make sure I don't cry here. When my wife went into labor, she went so far, and then she only dilated so much, like, and nothing was advancing, so she ended up having a C-section. So that was crazy because, you know, you go into the surgical. So I don't know if your wife had a C-section, but like they take you into a surgical room. They put this curtain over the bottom half of your wife, right? So that, you know, you don't see them cut her open. But they're like, I'm like, what's going on? Or like, you're going to see your child in about, you know, probably about 15 minutes. It's like you go from the labor intensive to, it was 12 hours of labor. And it's like, okay, in about 15 minutes, you're going to see your child. And it's like, holy, okay. And
your whole life changes. Yeah, no.
So they bring my daughter Sarah out of my wife's womb, like they did the C-section, cut her open and that. And I just remember just instantly crying. But my wife says, "How is her head?" Because she can't see
she
because
can't see it.
They've got so they finally bring her around, and you know. And of course, like it kind of, you could see the resemblance. It kind of looked like, you know, myself or my wife, like you could, like it's your child. And man, it was, but the scare that we had beforehand, and my wife saying, "How's your head?" Or how's your head? How's my head? That's a question.
My head is all over the place. Yeah.
But, you know, how's her head? And I'm like, she's beautiful. She's perfect. She's perfect. And then just her crying.
That's awesome.
Yeah, moment.
What a relief, right? It's almost like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. That's a great moment to remember, for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. We've been talking for an hour. It's an hour, Mug.
Did you have any more questions? Come on, man. We could do like fire questions.
I got a bunch more. Your bucket list. What are some things on what is one thing for sure you want to experience before you die?
I really want to go to Europe. I know Italy, Switzerland, that's kind of been on really my wife's bucket list and my bucket list. So yeah, I think Europe, as far as like a bucket list, I think that's something that we definitely want to go just to experience.
Yeah. And so Italy, any other particular place?
Well, Italy, Switzerland, Venice. You know, Venice is cool. Switzerland, of course, because I'm a big watch guy. And then Hawaii. I know we've been talking about Hawaii. So Hawaii, Switzerland, and Italy really have been like the three prominent places that we've just been always talking about. You know, so.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I will be married 25 years this September. So
wow,
we have to go. Probably not in September because you're getting into like hurricane season. and I just don't want to go to someplace tropical when there's a potential hurricane.
Yeah, let's go to Florida and we'll see what happens.
So we'll probably wait until the spring, like the following spring, and we're gonna take ourselves a trip. But she wants to go somewhere basically tropical, right? Really warm and hot.
Nice, man. Hey, do it. You deserve it. You know what I mean? You guys deserve it. So
for sure, we're gonna do that at some point. Let's end on this question. I think this is a good one.
Okay.
What are three things in life? You know, just whatever comes to mind. The three things in life you're most thankful for.
My family, first and foremost. My family for sure. My that obviously I can't do without. Also, I guess one thing that I'm thankful for, being healthy. For the most part, I've always been pretty healthy, and if I wasn't healthy, I'll be pretty miserable. And another thing I'm thankful for is people like you and all the friends that I've built on social media and could rely on. And if I ever feel down or feel happy or want to share something, I could always reach out, and you guys are there. And yeah, this whole world that I've kind of created not purposely. I just wanted to share my passion for watches online, and somehow ended up making really good friends. So that's I'm very grateful for that. So family, health, and just friendships.
Yeah, I can echo that for sure. That's yeah, and it's yeah, you can, you know, it's easy to take for, take for granted those things, but like those three things, if you were to take them away, right? Your health, your family, like you realize what brings you most joy in life, the things that you're most thankful for, right? And hugely important in my book to be thankful and to realize, how good we have it. We really do have it.
Yeah.
Have it good. Just the one,
I agree.
just the one child, one son, or do you have more than one? Oh, okay.
No, Oliver. Yeah, just him.
Oliver, cool. And he's 7, or is he?
He is 7 years old. Yep, he is 7 years old. He'll be 8 this year in June.
So what's that grade? He's going into grade 3 then, or grade 2 now?
That is correct. Yeah,
3?
he's in 2nd grade right now, so he'll be going into 3rd grade this year.
That's cool, man. It goes so friggin' quick.
Yeah, I know you have several kids, and they're a little older than him. So yeah, I know. Time flies.
It does. My daughter's about to graduate university and become a nurse. She's already got a job.
Wow, that's awesome. And congrats.
My youngest is going to graduate high school this year. So yeah, man.
Wow, and that's your youngest. Wow, you're old, Chris. You are old.
I'm 40. I'm only 6 years older than you, but yeah, I got married quite young.
You're not that old.
Early 20s, and
yeah, you're not that old.
No, man. Well, listen, I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you.
This has been a lot of fun, and hearing your story, your experiences, and different things, just getting to know you a little bit better. It's a completely self-indulgent exercise for me. Everyone, I do want to say, I apologize if the audio wasn't quite in sync. I did my best to get it set up. We did some tests, and watching it as we're going through it, I'm kind of like, I don't know if this is going to be in sync. Just the way that what I could see from it recording, it's like it's going to be offset a little bit on the actual file, and I can just separate the audio and try and line it up a little bit.
The cool thing, even if it's not lined up, will look like one of those, Asian or kung fu kind of movies where, we're moving our mouth, but the voice is not matching. So here, let's start doing some punching and kicking. And
yeah, man. Well, listen, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to your Saturday, to your family. Go have breakfast with your wife and your son. And what's the day look like for you today? What are you guys up to today?
Nothing. I really don't know. That's what we were just trying to discuss. We have some nice weather right now, so we love hiking. We like exploring and stuff like that. So maybe something a little bit like getting outdoors or maybe going somewhere nice to eat. I don't know. Honestly, we don't have plans. Sometimes those are some of the best days, right? When you don't have a plan because the pressure's just not there. Like, it's time. We got to get ready. We got to leave. It's always nice to just kind of wing it. So that's what we got going on.
Nice,
and I'm assuming you have really bad weather, right? So.
Well, we had a shitstorm last night for sure. I didn't know if we were going to be able to do our talk today.
Right.
And it literally, so you guys have had some snow, right? Like in
yeah, it's
California.
Weird. It's weird. We got a little, 10 minutes or 5 minutes worth of snow, but it was cool.
But it is accumulating in other parts of California. Like they're getting snow and it's staying for a little bit, right?
Oh, like Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear. They're notorious for getting a lot of snow, but it was bad. It was like really bad. So yeah, man, this year's been nuts.
And I heard Bakersfield. Now, where's Bakersfield?
It's pretty far. It's a few hours away from where I'm at. I think is it central? I think it's more like central California. So,
but yesterday we had that Texas system, right? That caused some tornadoes in Louisiana and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It moved up into the province of Ontario, Canada. So it started in Texas, Louisiana, and whatnot in the morning in your country, and it just kind of went woo. And as soon as it crossed,
thank you, America.
Yeah. And so as soon as it crossed the Great Lakes is when it picked up, you know, it turned from like a thunderstorm, rainstorm system into a winter storm. And it quite literally just turned on just like that. Like just all of a sudden it was just hammering down snow. So my ride home last night, I left work a little bit early to try and get ahead of the storm because you could see in the radar that it was coming. And I didn't quite get ahead of it. I was right into it.
Oh man! Hey, at least we were able to record this, and
yeah, it was a nasty drive home. But I knew when, like, I knew it was going to be okay, basically, because the system was going through last night. It didn't get into in the morning. It didn't start late last night like it was supposed to. It kind of came earlier, and oh man, it was. The drive home was brutal, but we're all good now. So yeah, man.
No, it's
well,
good.
you enjoy your
Hopefully
day.
You have a nice weekend.
God bless to you and to your family. Whatever you decide to do today, have a great day, man. And thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to connecting with you on an ongoing basis, man. I really do appreciate you.
No, for sure. Yeah, likewise, man. And just keep up the great work. I love what you're doing, and keep that humility going as well. It goes very far. And just like you said, I mean, you see through me, right? And you see what kind of person I am. Same goes for you. Obviously, I can tell you're a very humble guy. And like I said, people want to have people in their life when they know they could be trustworthy and they could be humble and not be one of those other people. So.
Yeah, man. All right. Thank you so much. And yeah, man. Have a good day. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
You do as well.
All right, pal.
All right, Chris. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Ciao.